Dhammarato, I have something to ask that I think ties into what you and Corey are talking about. Can I ask that real quick?
Okay.
So what I've noticed is that the more and more I investigate and look into and examine the feelings and thoughts that are going on, it wears on the wholesome state that I've been able to sustain and continue. I find that it kind of sometimes interrupts that. And I was curious if you had anything to say about that as well, because what I've thought is
Well,
sometimes more
sure.
than
Of course it does. Just think about it, that when you're up and then you have a negative thought, it's going to bring you down. That's all you're saying. And I say, okay. So when you're up, be on guard. So when those negative thoughts come, they won't pull you down. But what you're finding out today is there's just a lot of them there. So we have to
yeah,
continue to be on guard.
yeah, but there's another part to it. The other part to it is that when I start look like so what I've been doing, right, is going away from the unwholesome, replacing the
Mhm.
unwholesome with the wholesome, and cutting that root plant, right? That root structure. So when I notice I can't do it, I see you, gone. Wholesome. But
Mhm.
what I'm noticing is that when I focus on the unwholesome thought and then investigate it, examine it, that puts a damper on the wholesome state that I've been able to create for myself.
Of
So what I
course, that's
was
what we're talking about. There's no, I mean,
okay.
this is absolutely ordinary.
So
Of
what I
course
was
it's
so
going
what
to
I was
happen.
curious about is if we are supposed to also examine and investigate, if we want to really find out what's going on and really like, you know, if that's what we really want to do, how can we do that and yet keep up this wholesome state? Do we just
You don't
focus on the
try to,
wholesome state
you're making
for a
rules
little?
again. You're making rules.
Yeah. Well, I was the one who
You're
kind of
making
suggested
rules.
it, so I'll give my 2 cents on what I experienced with it. So when you concentrate on something, you go deeper into it. So if you are in a positive state and a negative state comes up and you concentrate on the negative state, it's going to increase. You're going to feel more negativity because you're concentrating on it. So really, you're not trying to really concentrate on the negativity. You're trying to concentrate on the wholesome thought and the wholesome state that you just left, right? So there's a difference between being aware of something and kind of like a good one to practice is like hello darkness mild friend, that one. If you can kind of do that, so you're in a wholesome state and then a whole negative or an unwholesome thought comes up and you go hello darkness mild friend, that's kind of, you're still being aware of it, you're being aware of it, but it's really quick and fading and passing, and you're not really focused on keeping it anymore. And if you look at it like an old friend, it really allows you to look at and understand whatever the negativity is coming from, and then you just kind of laugh it away. So like an
Well,
experience of
that's
that
what
for
I've been
me.
doing. That's what
Hmm.
I've been
Yeah.
doing for the past few days, Corey. That's exactly what I've been doing. What I'm asking about, and I appreciate that, but what I'm asking about is there is there more is there more investigation required than that? Is that all the investigation
No,
that's required? Just
no,
noticing it and that's
no,
it.
listen to me. Any investigation that is required that you're not doing will come with the skill development that you're
Okay.
doing now.
Okay. So
This
I
is
just don't need
skill
to I don't
development.
need to worry about it. Because I have people
You're,
like,
you need to stop worrying altogether. You need to
okay,
see the worry itself and stop doing it and just be happy.
okay, all right. Guys, I think I need to get off because I feel like this has been very intellectually this has been very intellectual and I
Hang
need
on for a second, because you've still got that original question in there that you
okay.
haven't got answered yet. That this has all been preliminary, and that
Okay.
is the repetition of the unwholesome. As you're developing the skill of seeing that stuff, two things are going to happen. One, you're going to be seeing it more often than you used to, so that looks like things are getting worse, not better.
Yeah.
The other one is that now, if you're not careful, because of the old rule system that you're having, now that you put wholesome and unwholesome as part of your rule system, and so you begin to see every wholesome thought as bad, which means you're doubling its dirt. So you're doubling the frequency of seeing the dirt, and you're doubling the dirtiness of the dirt. And that's the standard way of doing things for the intermediate student. That's not a big deal until you make it a big deal, but we make it a big deal rather than, oh, just another thought, never mind. Oh, just another thought, never mind is the way to go. You're saying you're actually still trying to get something accomplished when there really is nothing to be accomplished. Think of it in the sense that all you have to do is see that thought, and that's the only job that you have to do, to see it and make it wholesome. There is no more job to be done. That's the job.
Well, then
So,
why this whole axe business and the right effort and all
That's
this?
the job. That's the whole point is that you are taking an unwholesome thought and you're changing it into wholesome. I
Yeah,
see you as the wholesome thought. That's all the job there is to do, is to change it from an unwholesome to a wholesome. You
that's what I've
keep
been
doing
doing.
that. Yes, but you haven't been doing it for the past 5 years. You've been doing it for the past 5 days.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're wanting too much. And the thing to do is beginning to see that wanting.
Yes, and I've
That
seen the wanting too. I've seen it.
okay.
I've
All
seen it.
right. So say I see the wanting and now I can be satisfied without getting what I want.
Okay. All right.
You still practice the becoming satisfied. That's the whole
Yeah.
quality that we're looking for, and you are absolutely still wanting something.
In this moment, but I've been doing way better
But
than that the past couple
great,
days.
congratulations that you're not wanting so much.
I'm not wanting so much. Even in this moment,
Excellent.
I'm not wanting so much.
Wow, what a relief that is. So
Yeah.
congratulate yourself for that job well done.
Yeah.
And recognize there's no more jobs to do other than that one. That's the only job there is to do.
I don't know, man. I just feel like crying and nothing's coming out. There's just so much that I've been doing the past few days. I've
I
been
hear all of
really
those
dedicated
negative
to
thoughts. I
this.
hear all of those negative thoughts. I really do. I hear them.
soldiering on.
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
hear that. Uh-huh.
All right.
Well,
Because you're
congrats on the
wanting
progress so
something.
far, man. It's coming pretty good.
What'd you say, Corey?
I said congrats on your practice so far. I mean, it's really starting to bear fruit.
Oh, absolutely. We need to make sure that Alex hears that. You're making progress. Congratulate yourself.
Thank
All
you.
right. You
Thank you.
have learned to hill climb, and now you find yourself on the side of a mountain that you didn't know was there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hi
But
guys,
it's
I'm
the
back.
same thing. Hi, Ron. One step at a time.
One step at a time. Okay.
One moment at a time. Yeah, this moment. Can you enjoy this moment? Never mind about will you lose it.
This moment. I'm enjoying this moment. That's
Your
it.
journey
This
can be a
moment.
million steps, but the only step that matters is the next one you take.
This one. Exactly.
This one. Yeah.
Watch where you put this footprint now.
Thank you
And if you
guys.
could say,
Okay.
Of course.
a very,
That's what
very
we're here
silly
for.
example of that is the farmer is on this side of the pasture and the cows are over on the other side of the pasture. If he keeps his eye on the cows, because they're moving around a little bit, and he wants to go over there, he's got to give them a shot or something. If he keeps his eye on the cow, by the time he gets to the cows, all the way across the pasture, he's going to be covered in shit, cow shit. But if he watches every step that he takes, he only has to keep the cows way off in the distance, just heading in the right direction. And now just one step at a time. Watch where you put this foot, and he can get all the way over to the cows at about the same period of time. But now you're not covered with shit.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So if you think of it that way, that every time that you're one of those thoughts come up about, well, what if I lose it? Or what if this happens? That's the whataboutisms, and it's based upon that expectation that there's going to be trouble.
But you see, also
So you could say,
sometimes that
don't step in
creates
that
a
step
kind of
right now. Don't step on that one right now. This step.
Ye-
Okay, so you got to watch where you're stepping.
yeah, and sometimes that also creates a kind of pressure to not step in that step. You know what I mean? Like,
Watch
I'm not
that
gonna miss
pressure
that one.
because it's a cow pie too. Watch the pressure
Yeah.
you're putting on yourself. That's the cow pie.
I knew you were gonna say that. I'm just gonna
I
keep
think
trusting myself. I'm just gonna keep practicing the way I've been. I'm not
I think
changing
another
anything.
important thing is
Not
to tell
changing anything.
yourself, even if you do step on the cow shit, it's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It'll be
Right.
You
funny.
step in the
It's
cow
okay.
shit,
Yeah.
Yeah,
accept it.
it's okay. The cow. Yeah, you're in the business of cow shit. You've been living in it your whole life, and now you're worried about one more step in it.
Yeah, the
Right.
first step is becoming aware that you're stepping in cow shit.
Yeah, that's the first thing. Instead of being angry at yourself for stepping into cow shit, just look at what you're doing. Because if you're angry at yourself for stepping into cow shit, then you won't be paying so much attention to the cow shit because you want to avoid it.
You
I
can
like
see it
this
as
analogy.
divine as well.
And then you
I
can't
think
see it very well.
I think I also just am ready for a nice long rest, honestly.
I would be recommending that from the day one, that you should have been resting rather than practicing. I mean, what you need to practice is resting.
Yeah. Gonna rest.
Yeah, take a rest, take a load off the mind. It's okay to feel good.
It's okay to feel good.
Oh,
Thank you,
okay
guys.
to
Also,
feel
your
good.
mind
It's
is
just
actually what's stopping you from feeling good. You know, it's
Oh,
just doing what it's
I'm-
supposed to.
I know, Ron. I know.
Yeah, it's always
Why
nice
is
to
your
hear
mind?
it again.
Yeah.
What?
Well, I was
It's
kind of
always
curious
nice to hear it
about
again.
why the mind stops us from being happy.
What was that?
Guys, I'm
You-
gonna
well, you
go.
said-
I'm gonna go
it's
enjoy the
really good.
rest of the evening. I love you guys.
Okay.
Thank you.
I
Bye.
thought you said that it was like the mind's job to stop us from being happy, or that
It
the
is.
mind. Yeah, like what do you mean? What is that?
Here, wait. I'm gonna explain in a few seconds. I just need to find. All right. Wait. Here. All right. So basically, the brain is designed to keep us safe, not happy. The job duties of the brain are reproduce and survive.
Mhm.
Happiness is a human construct. It's an abstract idea with no equivalent in actual human experience. In fact, a state of contentment is discouraged by nature. It would lower our guards against possible threats to our survival. So, the happiness and positive thinking industry has led us to believe that sustained and lasting happiness is realistic and often purchasable. So, with that being said, if you are unhappy at times, it's not a shortcoming that demands repair. The fluctuation of happiness and sadness is actually what makes you human.
Okay, no, that makes sense with what I've experienced. So that lines up. Cool.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes, exact. That's actually quite beautiful. Who wrote that?
I don't know. I just saw it on Instagram.
Okay. Well, it's got a lot of wisdom in it for people because,
Yeah.
oh, hello, Dhammadas, Robert. Good to see you.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Yes, we're talking about the way that the brain is wired or function. It developed that process as safety and security.
Exactly.
Or self-preservation. That's what the brain was designed to do.
And the thing is,
It
because of
wasn't designed, it
evolution,
developed. Right, it developed in evolution.
yeah, and because of evolution, our brain is built based off what worked the best for the last, 50,000 years, not
Or
the
maybe
last
500 or maybe 5
500 years
million.
even.
Right, because if the further back you go, the more this makes sense. And
Exactly.
in our and here's the thing, that our modern society, actually all of human culture, has been around two major issues. One is knowledge, including writing and the Gutenberg and now the internet. So human knowledge is one of the qualities. But the other quality of civilization is the safety and security. The reasons why cities were built with forts and with walls and all of that was for humans to feel safe, or in fact, to come out of the primitive existence that we were talking about of where we grew up. We grew up in the jungle. And so humans, in order to feel safe, they built a city. Except that because humans didn't get out of their fear, they only got out of the danger.
Yeah, but our
We
minds are
wind
still
up,
built.
the mind is still quite primitive in that regard. And that what we, so the joke then is that the city is actually just a concrete jungle. Because of the human, they go to the city to be safe and they wind up feeling afraid there. And not only that, the humans can manipulate other humans into fear so that they can take advantage of them. An example of that is the gun toting robber. He's got that gun to make you afraid, so you'll do what he tells you to do. How does he make you afraid? By putting you in danger. Our parents put us in danger. If you don't go to school and learn your ABCs, there's going to be danger for you. So we, in fact, the humans still, even though the whole point of the human being is to build a society that's not dangerous, we still find the danger there. And guess what? Most of that danger is false positives. So if we could say then that what real happiness should be is that we can tell the difference between what's a real danger and what's a false positive. That would be the wisdom. And so if there is only a false positive and the danger doesn't exist, and that we can actually give our permission intellectually to feel safe, that then would be happiness. The first item on the list of happiness would be to feel safe. You can't be happy if you feel in danger. And so if we're going to feel happy, basically we'd say is happiness is living in reality rather than in the primitive fears that came part of the human package. And to say it that way means that we need to spend more time in the frontal cortex or in our adult state and less time in this argument between the parent and the child, where the parent's setting the rules and the child is either jumping or rebelling against the rules that we have. And so that's also part of the meditation practice, is learning to see these rules, learning to see these expectations that we have, learning to see these attitudes that we have, because we have control over them if we can see them.
And not all of them are bad?
And not all of them are bad. No, in fact, that's the whole quality that Bhikkhu Buddhadasa refers to in several of his works. One of them is in the work with the title of Void Mind. Now, immediately, Westerner, when they hear void, they immediately think completely empty, a vacuum, empty outer space or something like that, or in fact, mentally, no thought at all. But what Bhikkhu Buddhadasa is talking about is void of unwholesome, or let us say, wrong thoughts, the wrong rules, the wrong thoughts. And what I mean by wrong is that it gives us danger inappropriately, that we feel danger when there is no danger there. But in fact, if there is real danger, we should be able to feel that. We should know what real danger is. That in fact, one of the ways of saying it is that wisdom is going to now kind of substitute most of the job of danger, because wisdom will say, if I go to that alleyway, it might be dangerous. Therefore, I'm going to go around the block. I'm not going to go through the alley. And I don't have to feel fear while I'm walking down the alley. Whether there's actual danger down the alley or not, I'll be more fearful by walking down the alley. I could have a whole lot more joy by walking out in the daylight or in the streetlights. So that's an example, but we can see that in many places, that if we can bring wisdom to play, then we can avoid the dangerous situations so that we never feel the fear. But we have to be able to see what makes us afraid. And that seeing of what makes us afraid then is the wisdom, so that we know to avoid it in advance rather than having to deal with it when it comes up in the mind. But for the beginner, it's going to be coming up already because he's not already in a state of wisdom of knowing how to avoid danger. And so we deal with fear on a regular basis. And we have all kinds of words for that. Okay. Let me give you a list of words that have the basic feeling of that: anxiety, tension, stress, worry, restlessness. All of that has to do with pain avoidance or the threat of pain. And that's
And
the
it all
threat.
circles back to anticipation of the future.
Precisely so, exactly. Because right now everything is marvelous. I have never seen a student anywhere in my whole life that was actually in stress in the moment when we were speaking. It's only when they get off by themselves and start stressing themselves out by thinking about what went wrong in the past, setting it against some standards or something. And the better standard to use for the past is it's dead now. That's the standard that we can set for the past. It's over. It's dead, and it cannot be resurrected, dusted off, and beat back into shapes and call it a future. The past is dead, doesn't exist. And that's a good attitude to have, because then that means that all, even this moment too, will be dead.
Mm-hmm.
Even this moment too will be dead. Everything's going to die. The
That's the
past is
beauty
dead.
of impermanence.
Yeah, that's the beauty of impermanence, is everything is over. So, given that, we can feel good about the present moment and practice feeling good about the present moment, rather than dealing with these thoughts about what if things go bad. Call this whataboutism. And as I'm saying about it early in this talk that didn't get recorded, that it has to do with something that happens in the mind that is almost pre-verbal or pre-thought, that is basically an attitude, or as Jeff was describing it,
Expectation.
an expectation. Okay, so he expects trouble without even having a thought of trouble. And because of the expectations of trouble, he's going to start pumping adrenaline into the body. And because of the adrenaline being pumped into the body, he feels anxiety. And so in that regard, the body is congruent, but with the mind, but in another way, everything is out of kilter, because we're not actually living in the present moment. We're living either in the past or the future, being afraid right now of something that's not fearful right now. That's the incongruence. And it comes from that attitude, or that expectation, or that something in there that happens so fast in a tenth of a second or more. And sometimes it can actually turn that adrenaline gland on full force instantly. Okay. Hearing the sound of the siren while you at the same time see red and blue lights flash on the inside of your car.
Yeah,
And just seeing that stuff is enough to put most people in a panic.
triggered.
It triggers them. Okay. Another one is that you're on your way to an important meeting, and all of a sudden you remember that you didn't bring your resume or the cell phone, or you forgot something. And that triggers us. And for me, I guess it's the same for you, is that something in the mind says is that I've got to get to the office on time, but now I've got to go home, get that document, and get back to the office at that same time. So now my car actually is going to be going 20 or 30 miles an hour faster after I recognize that I've got to turn around and go back home and get something. Right? But it
Hey,
happened
Robert.
instantly.
Hi,
Oh
Robert.
no, something's wrong.
Oh, hi. Yeah, sorry, Brandon. Brandon had to call me up about something earlier. Sorry for leaving very abruptly.
No worries.
Great.
Yeah. I mean, this is something that we kind of had like talked about a couple times before. And there is like there's an interesting experience of long-term beliefs or long-term, you could call them a long-term thought, right? It's a thought that is maintained somehow over time. It's very weird. It's not an arising and passing.
It's
What I might call
recognition.
Huh?
Pattern recognition almost.
Mhm.
There's something that you see continuously that keeps on making this thought pop up.
Maybe, I don't know. I think that might be a different area of the mind. Different. That's more of like an aspect of the mind. But it could be at play here too, because it has something to do with patterns, some kind of ordering. So that might be coming into play with it. The interesting experience is how does these long-term thoughts or beliefs make up our experience? How does it color our experience with thoughts, emotions, and chemicals and stuff? So there's long-term beliefs, like you know, like if we lived in jungle, the long-term belief might be like that the tiger is bad or something, that the lion is bad. It relates to a physical stimulus. And then we talked a little bit earlier about how we moved into a concrete jungle. And what I thought was that, you know, before the programming was for things that are going to harm the body. That's what we label that negative feeling, right? It's a negative feeling when you're in danger and fear. And in order to evade from it, it's also a slightly less intense version of that negativity. It feels like negative urgency, like something urgent is about to happen. It's negative, you don't like it. So you got to take some action to avoid the stress or the fear. When we don't have the physical danger anymore, the new fear, what replaced it was like, has to do with pleasure. It's something, the dynamic between like, what I feel negativity and stress and anxiety about now isn't what's going to kill my body. I feel it around what is going to take away my pleasure. So if I'm like doing something, you know, like I might feel anxiety about having to go to work tomorrow because I don't enjoy work and it's not as pleasurable as video games. So that sense of danger and negativity, it has gone from being related to physical danger to being related to pleasure. And it becomes mental, very painful.
I would say it's related to the egoic mind more so than pleasure, because, you know, I feel like now, well, it's kind of saying the same thing, you know, now where that comes from, it's not physical danger, but it's mental danger almost. You know, you foresee things having bad outcomes for you, maybe socially or economically. And because
So the
of that, you
tiger is
feel
in the
that danger.
mind, then instead of out there in the field. We see the tiger and we feel danger, but nowadays there are no tigers. But
Yeah,
something
now you
now
see
that
this guy going and talking to the girl you like, and you feel that same danger. You know, it's a lot of our social patterns are very, very closely related to, you know, the survival patterns that we see in animals and biology, whether it comes to, you know, mating, you know, males fighting off aggression.
isn't that interesting how close the mating feelings are associated with self-preservation, so that when that young man sees what he's thinking in his mind, his girlfriend talking to another guy, it's not that he's going to lose this moment with her, that his whole existence is being threatened. He feels like he's going to die without her.
That's so true. I love how you
know,
put
it
that
can be a
together.
simple, oh, sorry.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it can be simple as, being proven wrong in an argument.
Hmm.
If someone tells you or convinces you that you're wrong, it's almost
What
like,
about this comedian whose audience doesn't laugh at his joke? They call it dying on the stage.
oh, yeah, that's gonna make a comedian feel horrible.
Hmm. Right. He dies on the stage rather
Mm.
than just, oh, I see they didn't like that joke. Let's make a joke out of the fact that they didn't like that joke and everybody's happy again, Just-
Yeah.
but we have these feelings, and these feelings basically are from self-preservation. That the feeling of fear is actually related to self-preservation, and it's in our language. The comedian dies on the stage.
Yeah, and this all ties back to how our brains are built based off what has worked best for the last 50,000 years and
At
not the
least.
last 500 or 50. It's
Exactly.
just finding new things to fill in those holes that it needs to avoid.
Right, and guess what? That the number of items, or let us say potholes to avoid, is just meaning that now our list of rules has grown longer and longer and longer.
Hmm.
And it's that list of rules that are often contradictory and get us into trouble. And when we have the idea that if I follow the rules, I'll be safe, and if I don't follow the rules, then I'll be in danger, that's more likely to put people in danger a lot because there's so many rules. But if we can change that rule into the one rule of everything's going to be okay, or the rule that the Buddha talked about, it dukkha dukkha nirodha. See that dukkha right now and step out of its way, and that's all there is to it. If we see what it is, we don't step in it. But the human mind is stepping into those thoughts a lot because as we're talking about it, wired to do so.
Hmm.
Instinctually wired to do so, because the whole wiring system was about self-preservation. Never mind whether the being is happy or not, at least he wants to stay alive. And we've got higher things to do with the human body now than just trying to keep it alive. I want to go take it dancing.
All right. So I guess that kind of touches on a lot of the things that the real reason I was getting into that was I was kind of bringing up the question of, does it even matter to look into these long-term beliefs? Because like we can see that there's this recurring experience of, childhood memories somehow
Right.
creating these
The
new
answer to that is no. That in fact, that's one of the big mistakes that Western Buddhism and psychotherapy make. Western Buddhism, in the sense of the Mahasi method, of noting and noting and noting and noting and noting, looking into it. In
Right.
psychology, they call it psychological archaeology.
Hold on.
Okay.
Real quick. So the whole thing was like on top of, we don't need to examine them anymore. And I think I kind of understand. So my question that's been driving me crazy for the last couple months, I've been kind of wrestling with this thing, is like, okay, I could see the long-term thought habits that have created this negative feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm obviously coming to understand that trying to understand how they got here doesn't really do any good. And so I was wondering, like, how are you supposed to implement new long-term beliefs or thought patterns? And then I just kind of, I guess I thought that
Have
there
one
was like,
right now. Have another right now. Okay,
Well,
that's the whole idea.
honestly, I think the answer is you don't. You
Mhm.
disidentify from your thoughts and you just live in the present.
Right. They're
That
not.
simple.
Those thoughts are not me.
You don't have to believe anything, just experience right here, right now. And I find a good practice for really keeping you grounded in the present moment. You sit down, you close your eyes, and you say to yourself, I wonder what my next thought is going to be.
mm,
And with that, you're observing your mind so closely, almost like a cat waiting for a mouse to come out of the mouse hole.
Ah, that's
And that
called
actually,
guarding the mind. That's an excellent way. I hadn't thought
Mhm.
about it before, but thinking about what's that next thought going to be.
Exactly. And it creates a lot of presence and also a lot of silence in the mind because you're just sitting there waiting to see what happens next.
Mm-hmm. But that waiting to see what happens next, the waiting quality has the quality of this is okay.
Mhm.
That the posture that we're waiting in is a good posture, that we're not waiting. Like an example of that is sitting at the bus stand, sitting there waiting for the bus. We could just sit there, and when the bus comes, we can get on it. But most people don't. When they're waiting for the bus, they're looking for the bus. They're saying, what time is it? Where is that bus? Thinking about, I'm in a hurry. I got to get to
But
town. Why doesn't that
in
bus
this
come?
way, the waiting is a means of
He's
being
the
present
present.
instead of
Exactly.
normal waiting, which is just a means to the ends, which is the future.
Uh-huh. So here we're just waiting, and it doesn't matter when the bus comes.
Hmm. Like you have to realize all your thoughts, they're not there to help you, so to speak. And, whatever it is that you're looking for, it cannot be comprehended by the mind or by thoughts. The thoughts are
Hmm.
just there to distract you from this very present moment.
Right.
So
And the
whatever.
way that we talk about this present moment is like the show. This, I mean, just enjoy the show. Enjoy reality. See what's
Mhm.
going on right now. Shakespeare first said it in the sense of all the world's a stage, and each one of us is players. I would add a little bit more to that is that every one of us is on stage reading a script. And the script that we're reading is all of our childhood memories, all of the rites, rules, and rituals, all the way that things are supposed to be, all of our attitudes, etc., like that. That's our script. And when we stop reading that script long enough to take a look around, we'll see that everybody else is reading a script. And maybe I don't have to read the script. Maybe I could just pay attention to what's going on around me instead. And the funny part then is that there's a big audience hall there with all these empty seats because everybody's on stage. I can just go sit down and relax and just watch the show. And so that's the way of looking at it, that everything that's happening is just a show. And we can just enjoy the show. But if
Well,
we
yeah.
don't enjoy the show, that means we want to change it. We want to fix it. It's broken somehow. It's dangerous.
Mhm.
This show is dangerous. But when you recognize that we don't know whether it's dangerous or not, that's just an old habit. Better to be wise. Look at what's going on.
I think that makes sense, because what I was trying to point out earlier is this experience that we all have of life, where if you go out every day and you experience life from a state of anxiety, you begin to have a feeling of constant anxiety, right? So if I go out every day, let's use a more positive thought. Let's say that I go out and I experience the world from a state of bliss. So every day when I go out, I see the best in people. I see wealth and abundance and love. So every day I go out and I'm in this positive state, I begin to experience a certain kind of life. If I do that every day for 3 months, I begin to experience a kind of belief or a kind of lasting thought or experience or a mood that is similar to what I just experienced. It's not really a thought, kind of. It's not a thought that just comes and goes. It's more of
Right.
like a mood or an attitude.
Our expectation.
Yeah. So, and
Yeah.
this is kind of like what we've been talking about the whole time. It's like,
Mhm.
you don't have to go and understand how the mechanics work. You don't have to know all of the brain psychology. If you just do the practice, you will get yourself onto this right track and you'll begin to experience the positivity. That's what I was kind of like wondering about was
Wow.
like,
Isn't that amazing, though? That's just the Eightfold Noble Path. If we just get
yeah,
on the path and practice it correctly, it does the work for us.
right. And I was kind of hoping that there was some kind of way to use my mind to my advantage to maybe speed it up or understand things. And But yeah,
That's
no, it's
actually
really
gonna slow
not
you
about
down.
that. Huh?
That's exactly what's slowing you down. Trying
Oh.
to understand it intellectually, you can't.
Yeah. But if you can enjoy it
Okay.
without understanding it,
Yeah, I could do both. I could do it. Naturally happens to do both. The
that's
more I
exactly
relax.
right. That's exactly right. That if we are willing to just accept it the way that it is, then we can really inspect it and we'll learn a whole lot more about it. But if we don't like it the way that it is, then we try to avoid it or ignore it or push it away. And then we can't see it very well. And if we can't see it very well, then next time it comes, we don't know how to avoid it or work with it. And so this is what the investigation is really all about. And it's a skill that is developed over time so that
It
you
just
can
kind
begin to
of,
see not just the thoughts themselves and the thought feeling complex, but we can also see this underlying attitude that let us say flavors or controls our thoughts and feelings.
that's the thing that I've been getting wrapped up and really investigating, and kind of it's more different than the first stage, which is like where you're just constantly being bombarded with thoughts. You're always in the mind and you're always thinking. And then like I don't know, at some point a couple months ago, I began to experience less thoughts and more of what we might call deeper thought, or like subconscious, which is like long-term beliefs and long-term experiences. And that's why I really kept coming back to it. I was really curious about it because I keep running into it. And it's really kind of annoying to just wake up and to have this mood that's not really very conducive, and it's not the best thing I've experienced. So it kind of made me wonder, like, why do I keep waking up in this? But it's just a process.
The question is, though, can you wake up also to that annoyance?
Well, it never really feels like annoyance. It just kind of is like, I don't know. It doesn't really feel too negative or annoying. I'm just kind of like, I guess,
Just that's the word you used.
yeah, wishing it could be better. I'm craving something better. So slightly annoyed, slightly negative, kind of. I don't know. But then 1 or 2 hours into the day, I'm feeling great.
Right. So when those kind of thoughts come up, we can see those too. Those kind of thoughts of annoyance or whatever. And say, wait a minute, I don't have to feel that way now. Let me, in fact, just take a deep breath and enjoy this moment. And I'll be annoyed later.
Right. Yeah.
Or just
Alrighty.
that's the way that we need to really pay close attention, because we think that we're seeing it enough. But then we'll have a negative thought about it, like this is annoying, or oh no. And this is where that whataboutism comes from.
Yeah.
And that it comes from this underlying position of anything that can go wrong will go wrong.
Yeah. Or it's not enough. So
Or
the
it's not
restlessness
enough.
and the not enough. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Need more intensity.
And so this is why it's so valuable in our practice to gladden the mind, to remember to say things like, right now I am secure. Playing the little game of, right now the dog is not biting my leg. Right now the ticks are not crawling up my leg. Right now there are no alligators on the floor, and we can just play with it. Right now I feel really great because there's no dangers right now. And so these are the thoughts that we need to have, rather than the thought of, oh no, something is going to go wrong. And so we're actually beginning to put a different bend on this life view that can be said, the life's position of, are you a victim, or are you a winner? Because when we're born into victimhood. Our whole society treats almost every child as a victim. Only very, very rarely is a child born and treated as a winner from the beginning. Very rarely. And you could say that in some cases the child is not is getting an ordinary education, but by the time he's 4 or 5, all of a sudden something magnificent happens to him, And now he is raised in a wholesome environment. The example of that would be Tulku, or where the Dalai Lama is picked up out of his house at the age of 3 and took to spend his life with nobles. So it's possible that that can happen for a child, but most all of us are raised in an environment where we are a victim. When we are born, we are raised as a victim. When we're in high school, we feel like a victim. When we're going to college, we feel like a victim. And when we get that job that we want, we still feel like a victim. And that feeling is actually not quite a feeling, but it's not quite a thought, but it is in the mind, that feeling of, or that attitude of being a victim. The attitude that things go wrong, the attitude that life is shit, the attitude of, oh no, I can't handle it. But if we talk to ourselves about that and recognize for sure, that's not the case. I can handle this. I got here this far. I made it this far. I can continue on. No matter what has happened in the past, it didn't kill me. I'm still alive. What a relief that is. What a relief it is that we managed all of that crap that happened through childhood and we came out. Now we recognize a winner. For a long time, we thought that we didn't survive it, that we were a loser our whole lives. But guess what? You're a winner. You can handle it. And so that's the kind of change of attitude that we need to have, that attitude that I can handle this. And the Buddha says that it's the first, it is the first noble knowledge. The very first step on the path is when the student says, no matter how much hindrances or no matter how much the mind is obstructed, I can come out of it and come back to this present moment. That's an attitude. That attitude change, the attitude from coming out of being a victim and the attitude of being a winner is the first step on the path. And the Buddha calls this supramundane. He calls it noble. He calls this knowledge a factor of the path. But he also states something very unique. And he says, this attitude that we're talking about is not held by ordinary people. That's what makes this noble, is that change of attitude from being a loser, being in danger, being subject to all the ills of the world, into the attitude of, hey, I can handle this. My whole world, my whole environment's my friend. It's here to support me. But we have to talk ourselves into that because we've been talking ourselves into the attitude of I'm a loser our whole lives and gotten much support from many people. But when we recognize, oh, I can change my attitude. I can change it right now. I can change it from I don't know what to do and it doesn't matter. I'm still okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely.
Go ahead, Court.
Oh, I was going to say, it definitely seems like it takes a lot of oomph, right? Normally when we have a change of attitude, it's because we had a boss light a fire under us or a car crash. So a lot of people maybe don't even think about the power that we have to change our attitude without a cataclysm, to just want to change it. We get so used to thinking that, I have to really feel it. I have to feel fear, anxiety, or love, or intensity. I have to feel something intensely to have such a big reaction or make such a big thing. So maybe that's why some people do it. The reason I really wanted to speak up, I had a question earlier. It was, how do we do stuff without a desire? Because if a desire, see you later on. If a desire is kind of like a desire for a past or a future or something else, and obviously on Anapanasati, we feel better when we let go of desires. How are we supposed to navigate that like on the path? Because we want to be wholesome and feel good, and that feels best without an agenda, just living spontaneous. So, but how do we like kind of achieve a desire or a goal when the very process of holding on to a desire or a goal is creating pain and suffering?
Well, it's actually impossible for us to live without any goals or any plans.
Hmm.
That's not actually what we're looking for. What we're looking for instead is all of the unnecessary plans.
Okay.
And so this is also a point of wisdom, is to figure out what's worth doing and then go do it with gusto. Go do it with joy. Go play with your toy. Decide what you're going to do. I remember one student asking, he says, oh, well, if I felt good all the time, I'd just lay in bed all the time. And I said, well, that's not possible. No one lays in the bed. In fact, you could say that there is possibility that people will remain in bed because they're afraid to get out of bed. But that we would naturally want to get out of bed in the morning simply because we can and often will, whether it's noble or ordinary or low class, we will still think of something to do. We will think of something that needs to be done, like go to the bathroom. So we begin to see that, oh, this is a matter of wisdom, but the wisdom requires a huge investigation of the kind of thoughts that we've been having, because we've been doing stuff out of habit without really looking at what was going on in the mind. Now that we're looking to see what's going on in the mind, like at the point that Alex is doing, he's looking at now he's really taking a good close look at what's going on in the mind, and he does not like it at all.
Yeah.
He does not like it. So we even now need to change that attitude of seeing what's in the mind and being joyful. Hey, I can see what's in the mind. Never mind the contents of the mind. Congratulate ourselves for being able to see it finally. And keep coming back. I'm really glad I saw that. Never mind what that is, okay? But the normal mind that we have is, oh no, I see that, and that's terrible. Instead of congratulating ourselves for saying, oh no, I'm really happy that I now can see that, because only now I can do something about it.
And you
Or
can take
not.
some action from like a different kind of mind state. So, okay. I think a lot of people, when we hear these trainings and thoughts, we immediately think unwholesome thought, deny it, block it, ignore it, and never listen to it. But what really we're trying to do is actually recenter in a positive feeling and then take action on it without being tormented.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, that's like the
Exactly
little
so.
subtext at the bottom. A lot of people, I've just run into these problems over and over because people kind of take a training or an understanding in the wrong way. And they kind of think that unwholesome means ignore it, block it, deny it, it's wrong and faulty and Maya or something like that. So this is
Instead of recognizing, no, that stuff's been keeping you alive your whole life, but that's all it's been doing. That's all it's been doing, is just keeping you alive. But congratulations, it was keeping you alive, and here you are. Now we can see it closely and make some improvements.
right. Yeah. I mean, definitely it's good to have a community, to talk with these things and to get their 2 cents on it. And yeah, for sure. Not always
Yes.
as intuitive as it might seem.
Yes, we need a community going. And I'm really glad that you guys are on. I'm really glad to see you, Dhammadas. You and I have been old friends for such a long time.
It's so nice to see you. I don't know how clearly you can hear me, but
Just fine.
Oh, good. So nice to see all of you. I really appreciate your teachings, Dhammarato. Thanks for everything.
Well, this is a lot of fun. I really enjoy meeting you guys. And one of the things that is so heartening for me is that you're beginning to see each other. You're noticing each other, that in the West, we always have the feeling that we're all, on our own, that I've got to do it all myself. And the other side of that is that, and I need help for it, but I want the help is for somebody else to do it for me. But within Sangha, it's a little bit different because everybody recognizes, yes, I've got to do it myself, but I could do it with my friends who can help me do it. And that's what Sangha is all about. So I very much appreciate you guys spending the time. Both Roberts and gosh, we've had quite a number of people on this call today.
Thank you. I'm just glad to be here. I didn't have a lot to say, but I enjoyed listening to your guys' conversation.
Yes, Robert, glad to see you. I see somebody on mute that says WE. Who is WE?
Wei Fan. I don't know them.
Oh, okay. He's still mute, but that's all right. Welcome. Guys, do you have any other questions or anything to finish up with this conversation? We've been going more than about 2 hours now, but we've only recorded for about half of it. But if you guys are good, I am really overjoyed to have this conversation. It's been really great today.
The only thing that like in the beginning, I was really looking into right view and how beliefs impact our experience, probably since early January.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think I've talked about it once or twice in one of the calls in this one. And so in the beginning, my practice was, it's not really a practice. I just have begun to see the roots of thoughts. So when I experience negativity, I could feel the sensations in my body, and then I could feel the thought root, and then I could see how it relates to some kind of expectation or concept or something else. So I'm able to see kind of different layers to experiences. The thing that has really been curious for me, it's really hard to get to, are the deep, deep beliefs. One of them is that I'm alive, that reality is real. These are like really, really deep, really hard things to even, like I've never even thought to examine that. But that does create a kind of experience. It colors our experience when we wake up and think this is real, and when we're asleep and we don't. So I don't even know how to get in there. And then like on the second hand, when we were talking today, it was kind of like, you don't need to get in there, and you don't need to rewire the brain in a certain way. You just need to experience the wholesomeness, and that will rewire it over time.
And right, will rewire it over time. Exactly right. One last point on that, and that is that in Sutta number 117, the Buddha talks about the distinction between wrong thought, ordinary right thought or view, and the supramundane or noble right view. And that the wrong view can be basically said as, I can get away with it. I'll go get what I want and I'll get away with it. That the karma machine and God and the police are not good enough. I'll get what I want. Okay. Right view, ordinary right view is no, we can't get away with it. There are rules here that we've got to follow. Okay, and that's quite complicated, but at the end of it, it becomes the authority, or the authoritarian says, you've got to do what I tell you to do. My rules are important, and I'm going to go get police. I'm going to get a military, and if that doesn't work, I'm going to go get a priest. But you're going to do what I tell you to do, no matter what.
Yeah.
All right, and that's the right ordinary view that we have, and that's that super ego that we have. And we could then say that the child is the wrong view, who is just wanting and wanting and wanting, and doesn't matter what the outcome is, versus the parent is saying, no, the outcome is more important than what you want. And then there is the third way, which is what we call the right noble view. But in this case, it's no longer a view or an attitude. It's right noble viewing, looking, or investigating. So that we begin to look at that child or that wrong view that we have, and we begin to look at that superego or that parent that we have, and recognize that, no, we can see things the way that they actually really are right now, if we remember to look And if we can look and see, we can make a change. And if we keep making that change over and over again, it will eventually then change that attitude or that expectation. And it takes a while. And the way that it does it is by repeatedly over and over again, changing our unwholesome thought into wholesome thought, changing or even our attitude, our unwholesome attitude into a wholesome attitude. The attitude would be, wow, I could do this. Hey, I did it now, I can do it again. Everything is actually okay. There's nothing wrong with right now. Everything is all right. And so we keep telling ourselves these really marvelous, true things because we can see it as we're looking at it. And so we stop following the rules and we stop setting rules and we just see the way that things really are right now and make a change into the wholesome. And that's all there is to it, over and over and over again.
Okay, that explains the issue I was having, because I was seeing how certain experiences are really long-term beliefs or thoughts. And I thought that somehow right view was one of those as well. But it's not any kind of view, because those are like limitations. It's a kind of your mind focusing in on certain things and not others. And so, yeah, that it helped me to click that right view isn't a belief or a kind of this equals that. It's a way
higher
of
moral. It's just investigating how things really are. That's the viewing or the investigating, rather than a view or a viewpoint or an expectation. That in fact, this point confused me many years ago when I was reading the sutta, and I would come to that right noble view, and is, wait a minute, the right noble view is not even stated in the right noble view. The answer is because I was looking for a view and there wasn't one there. Because it's saying that it's not a right view, it's a right way to view, a right way of looking at things, the way things really are right now. And the way things really are right now is everything is safe, it's not dangerous.
Yeah, I think you did say right viewing one time, not right view. You called it right viewing. And that is, yes, okay. That was my thing that I've been working on. So thank you for helping me to kind of break through that barrier to really understand. Because I've been doing the practice, I've been right viewing a lot. I just was thinking that I was doing it wrong because I thought right view was something else. I had a
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
That there's an outcome in there. And guess what? There's no outcome. It's just another rolling on. It's just all process and no results.
Yeah. And the good thing is it has a kind of signature to it. Like there's a certain kind of feeling, the wholesomeness feeling. When you do it right, it has a fruit. Like you know when you're doing it right. So that's another thing that's,
That's excellent. Great, Corey. I'm glad that you're figuring that out. That is really excellent.
Thank you. Right on.
Guys,
well, I got you know.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's go ahead and finish this call. Has anybody got any final things to say as we catch up, as we circle up? I'm really glad that you guys were on. Thank you so much. It's been quite a show.
Thank you so
for
much.
having us. All right. Ciao, guys. Ciao, guys.
Robert, we'll see you later.
See you.
Bye-bye, guys.
See you later.